Hello everyone, today's recap follows a student who everyone calls a failure, but they're about to discover that rankings don't always tell the whole story. Ikki Kurogane is the lowest ranked student at Hagun Academy, an F-rank blazer known as the worst one because his magical power is almost non-existent. In this world, blazers can transform their souls into powerful weapons, but Ikki's simple katana and weak magical energy convinced everyone around him that he could never become a true knight. Everything changes when he returns to his room and finds Stella Vermillion waiting for him. She's a foreign princess, an A-rank prodigy, and the new roommate he never asked for. A heated misunderstanding quickly turns into a challenge. The loser must obey the winner. Stella is completely confident. With her incredible talent and overwhelming flames, she believes the fight will be over in seconds. But Ikki has something the Academy never bothered to measure: experience. Years of relentless training have taught him how to read his opponents, analyze their movements, and turn their strengths against them. Using blade steel, he carefully studies Stella's swordsmanship and begins using her own techniques against her. Realizing she's losing control of the battle, Stella unleashes her most powerful fire attack. With no other choice, Ikki activates Shura, a technique that pushes his physical abilities to their absolute limit for one single minute. The student everyone mocked charges straight through the flames. And against all expectations, the Academy's so-called weakest knight defeats its greatest prodigy. Only after the battle ends does his exhausted body finally give out. Later, director Kuraudo reveals the truth. The ranking system only measures magical power. It doesn't measure determination. It doesn't measure skill. And it certainly doesn't measure the years Ikki spent perfecting his swordsmanship while everyone else underestimated him. Stella apologizes for judging him too quickly, but Ikki doesn't ask for fame or recognition. Instead, he makes one simple request. She'll stay as his roommate. Because if she's going to call him the worst one, then it's only fair that she finally learns who he really is. Living together quickly reveals that Stella's pride hides respect for the boy who defeated her without the power everyone else takes for granted. Their new routine is interrupted by Shizuku Kurogane, Ikki's younger sister, who arrives at Hagun and immediately treats Stella as a rival. Shizuku's roommate is Alice Arasuin, a calm shadow user who understands the complicated loyalty behind Shizuku's intense attachment to her brother. Through Shizuku, Stella learns that the powerful Kurogane family rejected Ikki as a disgrace and isolated him for lacking magical talent. Only his great-grandfather Ryoma encouraged him, teaching Ikki that effort could still create a path no ranking system was willing to recognize. Rather than surrender, Ikki studied bodies, breathing, footwork, and every sword style he could observe until technique became his real power. Stella begins to see that Ikki is not secretly gifted. Every impossible move comes from work nobody bothered to notice. The Academy then announces selection battles for the 7-star Sword Art Festival, Ikki's only chance to graduate and become a recognized knight. Ikki accepts the impossible condition, while Stella, Shizuku, and Alice enter the same tournament determined to reach the national stage beside him. Before the qualifiers begin, Shizuku invites Ikki shopping, only for Stella and Alice to turn the outing into a tense 4-person trip. The rivalry is interrupted when armed members of rebellion seize the mall, disable security, and hold every shopper for ransom. Ikki and Alice avoid capture through Alice's shadow device, then reach the control room and study the hostage area from above. Among the prisoners, Stella exposes herself to protect a child, allowing the leader Bishu to use his strange power against her. Bishu believes the students are trapped, but Shizuku quietly prepares water while Alice positions Ikki for a coordinated counterattack. The moment their plan begins, the hostages are shielded, the gunmen lose control, and Stella turns them all into a field of fire. Ikki reaches Bishu and overwhelms him before his ability can threaten anyone else, ending the attack without sacrificing the civilians. The incident proves that Ikki's greatest strength is not raw magic, but his ability to read a battlefield and trust the people beside him. Then his first official opponent is revealed: Shizuya Kirihara, the invisible archer who humiliated Ikki throughout the previous school year. Kirihara once attacked Ikki repeatedly, knowing the Academy would expel the powerless student if he fought back against a favored upperclassman. That history follows Ikki into the arena, where Kirihara activates Area Invisible and hides himself inside an artificial forest. Ikki initially tracks the visible arrows, but Kirihara unveils a new technique that hides the projectiles as completely as their shooter. Strike after strike tears into Ikki while Kirihara reveals his graduation condition and invites the crowd to laugh at the Academy's failure. The humiliation nearly reduces Ikki to the helpless boy he was last year, until Stella stands and declares that his effort is worthy of respect. Her voice restores his focus, and Ikki stops chasing arrows to analyze the breathing, timing, and killing intent behind every shot. Perfect vision finally exposes Kirihara's location, letting Ikki cross the forest and defeat the archer before fear can hide him again. The victory transforms the worst one into another one, a fighter whose skill exists outside the categories used to rank everyone else. At the hospital, Ikki confesses his feelings, Stella answers with a kiss, and they promise to meet again in the festival final. 2 weeks later, Ikki has continued winning, and the students who once ignored him now crowd around asking for swordsmanship lessons. His new popularity leaves Stella frustrated because they are officially together, yet Ikki spends every free moment helping someone else improve. When jealous boys challenge him, Ikki defeats them without cruelty and somehow turns the confrontation into an even larger training group. Stella asks him to train her too, but his hesitation sounds like rejection and sends the proud princess away in anger. Ikki later explains that her sword is already refined. He wants Stella to develop beyond anything his analysis could teach or predict. At the pool, the group trains breathing and endurance, while Stella finally admits that she wants their relationship to feel real. A misunderstanding becomes an argument, but both stop hiding and confess that the one thing they want at that moment is a kiss. Their reconciliation gives Ikki emotional support beyond the arena, and gives Stella a partner who values her effort rather than her title. On the ride home, new match notices arrive. Ikki and Stella will each face powerful members of Hagun's student council. Ikki faces Renren Tamaru, whose mock grid stores speed with every lap, while Stella battles Seiju and his increasingly heavy axe. Both opponents unleash their accumulated power, but Ikki evades Renren's final charge as Stella shatters Seiju's weapon with overwhelming flames. Afterward, Ikki discovers that a shy third-year student named Ayase Ayatsuji has been following him because she wants sword training. Ayase is the daughter of Kaido Ayatsuji, a respected swordsman whose style Ikki has admired for years. During practice, Ikki realizes she is forcing her father's body mechanics onto a different frame, so he rebuilds her stance around her own strengths. The improvement is immediate, but Ayase's desperation suggests she is training for something more personal than the school tournament. That secret appears when Kuraudo Kurishiki arrives, provokes Ikki, and frightens Ayase with the reputation of the Sword Eater. Kuraudo took the Ayatsuji dojo after defeating her sick father, leaving Kaido hospitalized and Ayase obsessed with winning the property back. Then the next draw places Ayase against Ikki, forcing her to choose between the friend helping her and the only path she sees toward revenge. The night before their match, Ayase asks Ikki what he would do against an enemy he could never defeat fairly. She then throws herself from the roof, forcing Ikki to spend Idu Shura saving her and removing his strongest ability for the coming duel. Ikki understands the trick but refuses to expose her, sensing that fear and Kuraudo's control have pushed his student past her own principles. Before the match, Ayase secretly marks the arena with invisible cuts that she can reopen through her noble art. Those traps wound Ikki from every direction, and Ayase enlarges even minor injuries while he fights without his usual power boost. Ikki still refuses the easy disqualification, because exposing her cheating would save his record but leave Ayase trapped by the same desperation. He reads every prepared strike, creates an afterimage, and ends the duel with his phantom blade, so Ayase is defeated without serious injury. When Ayase admits that winning this way would never restore her father's honor, Ikki offers to help reclaim the dojo as her friend. Instead of waiting for the festival, Ikki immediately challenges the man who broke her family, Kuraudo the Sword Eater. At the ruined Ayatsuji dojo, Ayase explains how Kuraudo defeated her ill father and claimed the building as his prize. Ikki defeats Kuraudo's followers and wagers the dojo itself on a direct duel with the violent swordsman. Kuraudo's device bends and extends like a many-headed serpent, attacking from directions that should be impossible for a sword. Even worse, his marginal counter gives him inhuman reflexes, allowing him to change attacks after Ikki has already committed to a defense. Ikki is cut repeatedly, but the longer they fight, the more both swordsmen smile at finally meeting someone who understands their obsession. Stella notices Kuraudo's reflexes consume stamina, giving Ikki the narrow opening he needs to survive the final exchange. Kuraudo releases 8 simultaneous strikes, while Ikki answers with Tenimyuhu, the secret technique he reconstructed from Ayase's training. Ikki passes through the serpent blades and wins, using blade steel to complete the move Kaido could not finish years earlier. Kuraudo returns to the dojo, and Ikki tells Ayase that preserving her father's style makes her its true successor. After 12 consecutive wins, Ikki and Stella travel to a mountain camp expecting private training but find Hagun's entire student council waiting. Their supposed vacation becomes a cleanup assignment before the academy representatives arrive, though Stella still searches for time alone with Ikki. She insists on visiting a waterfall despite hiding a fever, and a sudden storm leaves her too weak to return. Ikki carries her into an abandoned cabin, builds a fire, and protects her without taking advantage of the vulnerable situation. He explains that he wants to stand before both families and declare their relationship honestly, giving Stella a future beyond a secret romance. Elsewhere, Shizuku confronts their father and discovers that he can praise her 12 victories while refusing to acknowledge Ikki's identical record. Before Ikki and Stella can return, a hidden attacker sends a massive stone golem crashing onto their shelter. Ikki protects the sick Stella while the student council arrives, revealing members powerful enough to destroy the remaining golems with ease. President Touka Todo ends the assault with terrifying lightning, showing why Shizuku's next opponent is considered nearly unbeatable. Shizuku enters the arena against Touka Todo, determined to prove she can stand beside Ikki rather than remain someone he must protect. Touka's famous Reikiri is a lightning-fast draw that can decide a match the instant an opponent enters her range. Shizuku controls water and ice from long distance, even removing impurities so her attacks will not conduct Touka's electricity. She freezes the arena, launches waves and pillars, and uses a water clone to survive Touka's first successful approach. Yet Touka combines speed with nukiashi, a movement technique that convinces the subconscious to ignore her presence until she is already attacking. Shizuku adapts repeatedly and pushes the president harder than the crowd expected, but every defense forces her closer to Reikiri's range. In the final exchange, Touka breaks through and lands the decisive lightning strike, defeating Shizuku without dismissing her strength. Shizuku accepts the loss because she fought as herself, earning the respect of the opponent who now stands between Ikki and qualification. The match reveals Touka as more than a final obstacle. She is another underprivileged fighter who earned power through discipline and purpose. Ikki and Stella continue winning and renew their promise to meet in the festival, unaware that a hidden photographer records their kiss. The image becomes a public scandal, allowing ethics official Mamoru Ayase to accuse Ikki of exploiting the foreign princess. Ikki is removed from the dorm, locked in a cell, denied proper rest, and forced to keep fighting selection matches under constant interrogation. The plan is political: exhaust him, destroy his reputation, and make the weakest member of the Kurogane family withdraw voluntarily. Stella considers ending their relationship to protect him, but Shizuku reminds her that surrender would erase everything Ikki is enduring for. A teacher secretly delivers a lock of Stella's hair, giving Ikki enough comfort to request a direct meeting with his father. Ikki Kurogane admits Ikki was rejected not for weakness, but because recognizing one exception might challenge the family's entire system. The answer breaks Ikki more completely than any opponent, yet Ayase schedules one final public match against the undefeated Touka Todo. By the final day, the Academy's worst one must reach the arena with a wounded body and almost no belief left in himself. The final selection day arrives with 6 festival places at stake, while Ikki is deliberately abandoned far from the arena. Exhausted and barely conscious, he hears his friends and the entire academy cheering, turning their faith into the strength his family never gave him. Touka knows the match was designed to break him, but respects Ikki too much to offer pity or an easy victory. She chooses a direct clash, preparing Reikiri as Ikki gathers every remaining part of his body and will into one strike. Instead of 1 minute of Idu Shura, Ikki creates Idu Razetsu, compressing everything he has into a single second beyond his normal limit. Their swords meet once, Touka falls, and the boy ranked last defeats the Academy's strongest representative before a worldwide audience. Ayase tries to interfere, but Stella knocks him aside and reaches Ikki before his failing body can hit the ground. With the cameras still broadcasting, Ikki asks Stella to marry him, and the princess accepts without hiding their relationship again. Their parents finally agree the next generation should not be controlled by old political grudges, ending the attempt to erase Ikki. Ikki becomes Hagun's flag bearer for the 7-star festival, proving the worst one was never talentless, only measured by the wrong standard. What started as the story of the Academy's weakest student ended with Ikki proving that true strength isn't defined by rankings, magical power, or the opinions of others. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to BakaBuzz Recaps, and I'll see you in the next one.